These resumes are full of mistakes, and as an employer, sometimes it's hard to know how to sift through all of the resumes in front of you. So I've learned how to do this quickly and efficiently. Over the last 5 years, we've gone from 0 team members to 220 team members, and I was responsible for personally hiring our very first 50 people. It has been invaluable for me to know how to look at resumes as quickly as possible to find the best people who are looking to join your company. So let's dive in. When I have a stack of resumes like this in front of me, you can only go through a handful of them. Like, you cannot set the target that you are supposed to go through all of them. I think of this like the college admission process. No one ever promised that they were actually going to see your application. Listen, if you have all of these resumes stacked up inside your Indeed, LinkedIn, wherever it is that you're recruiting, you never promised the candidate that you were going to read their resume. If you only have 5 minutes in order to go through resumes, just use the 5 minutes. Do not think of this as I have to look at every single resume. That is one of the first mistakes. Okay, so as I'm looking at this particular resume, this resume is 6 pages long and is filled with all sorts of different subheadings, different ways to explain professional experience versus skills developed versus area of expertise versus software and machinery proficiency, multifaceted graphic design specialist. Then we break out into extracurricular, acurricular, interests, references. If you cannot summarize to me on one page, maybe front and back, what your experience is, what you're great at, especially if you're a graphic designer, it is terrifying to me that this is what you create, because is your resume a graphic? You better bet your bottom dollar that it is. And this is a very terrible way to show what you're actually doing. So pass. Next up. This one's interesting because it's short, sweet, and to the point. Here's my challenge with this. It's a little too short and sweet to the point. For this particular role that the candidate's interviewing for, we're gonna pay this person north of $150,000 a year. So I want to know the real experience they have, and they have to sell me on the fact that they actually have this experience. So the resume starts out by saying, outgoing, intelligent, and driven, willing to meet the needs of customers through all reasonable and fiduciary responsibility means. What does that mean? If you are reviewing a resume and it is the most basic of sentences that is listed first, it's a pass. That person does not know how to communicate their ideas and actually sell themselves, which is the entire point of creating a resume. So with this particular resume, pass. Absolutely not. Next up, this one was very interesting because it's a sales director. And what's fascinating to me about this is he entirely undersells himself in this resume. This goes back to what is the point of a resume. The candidate should be selling you. Of all the roles, the sales director should be selling me. So to me, this is not a sales resume. This is just, hi, I'm like plugging in all of this information. Last work experience was in 2018. Now, here's a little thing that I am really particular with my business owners. To me, it is okay if there is a gap in work experience. If somebody took 2 years off, that's fine. If somebody took 5 years off, that's okay, but I want to understand what happened. And as the person reviewing the resume, you have to be recognizing that it is a little bit of a red flag that they don't have that experience. As long as they address it early on, hey, I was taking care of my kids, or I moved away to a different country to have XYZ experience, it's no longer a red flag. Additionally, the real experience that this gentleman has is in the second opportunity that he listed, and he let the title be called Lead and Coach 16 External and Internal Wholesalers for Sales. And then he goes on to say, with a typo, products through a national distribution firm, focus on business development, like a whole bunch of BS. Pay attention to this. If the candidate on their resume is not sharing the results that they drove as the very first thing, this is a red flag. This resume should not read products through a national distribution firm. Well, first of all, it's a typo and they forgot to put the first half of that sentence on. But despite that, the back half of this paragraph, literally 5 sentences later, it says increased sales from 12 million in July of 2011 to 330 million in July of 2012. That's the headliner. That should be at the top. That should be in bold. But if the candidate isn't thinking through, I should be using what I've done, the results that I've driven, to sell myself, you're gonna continue inside your work environment to have them re-engineer and rethink the way that they're pitching and presenting things. This is such a red flag. Just the fact that they think that that's the least important thing when I think it's the most important thing. Next. This one, like, I don't even know how much to say about this. This is, to me, such an immediate pass. Bonus points. He did design this. Like, it is a designed resume, and he's applying for a graphic design role. That's better than a lot of resumes that come through, which just use the standard Indeed or LinkedIn platform to type out their answers. However, this is atrocious. This does not match the design of our organization. This does not match any design. And something that's interesting, if somebody lists key skills on their resume and is already saying that they're a 2 out of 10 on one of their key skills, why would you even hire that person? Especially if one of the key skills, AKA web design, which is part of this job description, is a 2. We're passing on that. When a candidate tells you who they are through their resume, please just listen to them. I likely am not reviewing this resume to begin with because I don't like the resumes that were just inserted straight into Indeed or LinkedIn or the platform. I like a resume that was actually designed and there was some intentional time taken to it. First of all, it's 3 pages. 3 pages is way too long for a resume. So with this particular resume, knowing that it is 3 pages, I'm like, okay, what else do they put in here? Their skills, they list in small bullet points at least 50 skills. So there's nobody who is skilled at 50 different things. If you're good at something and have all of these licenses and certifications, instead of telling me about all of the licenses and certifications you have, drive me to what are the results that you've gained through having these things. I don't care that you have all of these things just for the sake of having them. People are so overeducated in many things that don't actually drive results. So it's great that you happen to have some sort of certification, but don't point out in 25 different bullets all of the certifications you have. Instead, say, I've used this in order to get X. I've used this in order to get Y. You being proficient in bookkeeping, work motivation, attention to detail, warehouse safety, customer focus and orientation, HR, compensation benefits, early childhood development. Like, I'm confused when I read this resume. This, as soon as I see this, is a pass. This resume is a winner and I want to reach out to this person, and here's why. They fit everything in one page. It's designed with a nice little paragraph here about who the person is, has a little bit of personality, while also keeping the main thing, which is their experience. Remember, they are selling themselves. They're trying to get a job. And if they can effectively do that in a paragraph, they should put the paragraph at the top. From there, it highlights a handful of skills that they have, not too many. There's about 15 in here. Key qualifications, they actually used our job description as a way to say, this is why I'm qualified, and tailor this resume. You should be looking for this. Remember, you are trying to hire high-performing talent. You want somebody who is interested in working for your business. So when a candidate does this, you should prioritize interviewing them immediately. From there, short little sentence on education experience, and then overall professional experience, with the final piece being certifications and training, but it is small. This candidate kept the main thing, and we happen to have hired this particular person. I am dying to know, what is your best resume review tip? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.